to the second video of my blog. As I said, the first one was more of an introduction. It was more about just introducing what I'm going to be doing. The second one is actually taking place in my kitchen this time. I'm really excited about that, rather than going in the nasty, awful computer lab where awkward music comes in the background. I had to wear the astronaut headphones. So today is the first actual demonstration of what I'm going to be doing. As I said before, it's a meal that's going to be $5 or less. Couple things about that, it's based on per serving. Some of the things actually retail pretty cheap. Other things, like some of the condiments I'm going to be using, potatoes, it's based on per serving. So the bag might actually cost, I think it was $3.99 at the store today, but the serving we're going to use is only going to cost you about $1, so you can reuse them again. But getting on with that, the thing we're going to cook today is just barbecue sausage. It's really, really simple, really, really easy. It'll probably take about a half an hour to make total with everything we're making with it, because the $5 is the full meal. It's not just the sausage, it's sausage, potatoes, and a vegetable. I try to get a little bit of each every time I make a meal. So, the first thing is the actual sausage. This retails at Family Fare, normally priced for $1.50, but if you catch it on their, I think it's their low prices deal that they do with their Yes card, it's $1. So, I'm taking it for $1 today. It's called John Morrill sausage. It's kind of the low class of Eckrich, but on a college budget, you can't afford Eckrich. So that's what John Morrill sausage is. Otherwise, the other ingredient are just basic red potatoes. They're a little bit different than the white baking potatoes. They have a little bit more flavor to them. They're easier to cook, and you can actually eat the skins, whereas the yellow potatoes, you kind of want to stay away from the skins. They don't taste as good. They taste a little bit more starchy. In addition to that, those are going to be frying too. I have regular cut green beans. You can buy them in the frozen section. These go for about 99 cents a bag. Sometimes you can get them on sale for about 79 cents. So with these three combined, plus the only other ingredient that's not technically free for me is barbecue sauce. The full bottle goes for about $2. The serving we'll do today is about 49 cents. So in total, I have the sausage, the beans, the potatoes. The total retail value for all this for the servings we're going to do is going to be about $4.29. And the serving should feed 1 to 2 people, sometimes 3, just depending on your appetite. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get this prepared, or at least starting to be prepared, and I'll see you in a second. Hello again. Okay, for this part, we're actually going to start the process of making the meal. It's really, really basic. A lot of cutting is involved, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. It goes pretty quickly. To get you started a little bit familiar with the things I'm going to use, I have a bowl. It's called a garbage bowl. This one actually retails quite high. You don't have to buy the bowl. It costs $16. Find a bowl. It's easier when you have things like the casing for this, any extras of a potato or any vegetable. You throw it in your bowl. When you're done, you throw it in the garbage rather than making 8 trips to the garbage and back. In addition, I'm going to be using this knife quite frequently in all of my videos. I recommend, and I'll probably feature it in another video with some of the things that are my favorites, that you buy something very similar to this. It is a very large blade, and it's really important that you're very careful with it. But the cool part about it is on the inside, it might be hard to see, there are sharpeners. So every time you pull it out, it actually does self-sharpen. Now, I've used this one for about 3 years now, so it actually is a little bit duller. But you can buy a sharpener at a store. They do retail pretty cheap. So that's a couple things to be familiar with. There's also a cutting board. Never, ever, ever cut on your counter. Even if it's a dull knife, it will cut through. Especially if you're living in a dorm or apartment, they'll get you on that one, so don't. In addition to that, I just have basic bowls to keep things in, just to keep things neat and tidy. Make sure when you're cooking that you also try to separate things. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. You don't have to use all the sausage either. If you're just cooking for one person, one of those sausage links should be sufficient enough. I will be cooking for 2 or 3 tonight, including maybe the person that's filming this. So I'm going to use all 2, for 3 people. You don't have to remove the casings from this sausage. It is already pre-cooked, so the cooking will actually be really quick. So I'm going to throw that away, and all I'm going to do is slice it up actually about a ½ an inch thick, maybe a little bit higher, and it does cut pretty thin. Make sure when you actually do this that it's thawed. You don't want frozen sausage. It will change the taste of it. And like I said before, it is cheaper sausage. The taste is not very much different from Eckrich or any of those other brands, but it is a lower class of brand, I guess you could say. Personally, I don't taste a taste difference. It tastes fine just for me. So I'll be right back. I'm going to throw these in my pan, and I'll get to the potatoes next. Now that we have the sausage cut up, actually we're going to start with potatoes. I would recommend slicing your potatoes before putting the sausage actually in the pan and letting those cook for a while, because depending on the thickness of how you cook the potato, it might take a little bit longer. I like to slice mine a little bit thinner. When I'm hungry, I want to eat quickly, so I'm not going to wait 30 minutes for my potatoes to go. So with that being said, I do have about 6 potatoes. They're a little bit larger. You can buy the smaller red potatoes, but I wouldn't suggest using those if you're going to do something like slicing and putting into a pan. They do actually cost more. You get about 3 pounds for the same price you'd get for 5 pounds of the bigger ones. The smaller ones are good if you actually want to usually chop them in half and eat them like that. A lot of times when you go to farmers markets, that's what you'll find, are those small potatoes. And they are really good in the summer, especially to put them in a pan, let them steam, and eat them. But for this purpose, we'll use the cheaper, heavier, and larger ones that just take longer to cut. So it's no big deal with that. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started chopping these. Like I said before, there really isn't a right or a wrong way to cut these. I'm just dicing them and putting them into a pan, so they don't have to be perfect cubed. They don't have to be perfect round. You just want to get them small enough that they'll cook a little bit quicker. And as I said before, especially with a knife like this, until you get used to it, be really, really careful with the sharpness of it and watch your fingers. It also is kind of important that you keep the size of your cutting the same. If you tend to get any bigger or larger, as in this piece in comparison to this piece, obviously this one's going to cook a lot quicker than this one. It's okay to have a few, but I would try to stay around all the same size, like these ones, which are still a little connected, but they are much, much closer to the same size. They'll cook the same rate, which is again why I try to cook mine a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, because they'll cook a lot faster. If I were to simply just chop this potato in half, it would take a lot longer to cook. In parts like this, where you get this other kind of, it looks kind of like a brown spot, it actually is not. You can eat that. It's just part of the potato. It's not anything to be afraid of. And it'll happen a lot, so no need to go through and individually pick those out. So I'm going to keep cutting these. It'll take me a few seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw them in my pan. After that, I will actually start with the green beans. Those are really, really simple. Just going to open them in the bag, put them in this bowl, and at that point throw them in the microwave. So we won't even have to talk about that very much, but just take me a few minutes to chop these.